Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hammerdown Ranked channel, and this is the final of our Download Festival specials. You've had the preparation, you've had the festival vlog, and now it's time for the review. For those of you who don't know, I run Hammerdown Festival, which is a rock and metal festival in Brighton. Obviously way smaller than Download, but it is dry and indoors, so there's no mud. So although it's obviously nowhere near the scale of Download, it does give me some insight into how festivals work. So I thought I'd give my little review today, as well as ranking the sets at Download for my top 10 performances that I saw there. So this was my 6th Download festival. I'm very well versed in how Download works. This was my first time going as a guest. The awesome guys at Bleed Again took me along, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. And I have to say, talking about the guest areas and all of the extras aside from the normal punter experience, they were pretty amazing. The toilets were better, the showers were warm and quite pleasant. Got to have a free bar, watch some football, like everything was great. But from a punter's perspective, the standard Download problem of the rain. Now, most people will say, Download, why don't you just move the festival to a warmer month of the year? Because almost every year at Download it rains and it ends up like that. I've done 6 downloads. 5 of my downloads have been muddy and wet and rainy for at least some of the festival. I've only ever had one completely clear download. It still might have rained a bit, but I can't remember it being particularly rainy, which was 2018, the year Guns N' Roses headlines. That was fantastic. But what a lot of people don't understand about the way the European festival circuit works is when you get to a level that Download is, you're no longer just competing with clashing with UK festivals. In fact, the small rock and metal festivals in the UK are completely irrelevant to Download. What they need to avoid clashing with is the big rock and metal festivals over in Europe, because all the big American bands, and of course the European ones too, they tour a circuit of them. When they're on a touring cycle and they're not recording an album, they are on tour across the festival circuit, playing at different festivals across Europe before they go back to wherever they came from. So Download can't move it 1 week later, because then it's clashing with Graspop Metal Meeting in Belgium. The following week, you have both Resurrection Fest in Spain and one of the big ones, Hellfest in France. So you can't clash with those two. Now, July is relatively clear in terms of the major festivals. There is 2000 Trees Fest here in the UK on the 10th to the 13th of July 2024. But then the end of July and August are completely off limits again. Both Metal Days Festival and Wacken Festival over in Germany are both on the very tail end of July and the first bit of August. The following week, you've got the other major UK festival, Bloodstock, and Brutal Assault Festival as well. And then the following weekend, you've got Summer Breeze Festival. So really, Download can't move too much. I did a little bit of looking into this, and I'm sure there are other rock festivals that I probably missed in July, but July seems like the best bet if they were to move it. But clearly, because of the way the European festival circuit works, it would be very complicated to shift it up like that. So Download is probably going to have to stay on the same wet and rainy and cold weekend that it's on every single year, and we're just going to have to get used to it. But there were some major improvements this year. The Village was awesome. Now, I haven't been to Download in 5 years, so I'm aware that the Village has been on the concrete for the last few years, but it was my first time experiencing that. That was a huge improvement. The Village has always been one of the muddiest and most horrendous areas of the festival to get around, but this time it was all on the concrete almost, and absolutely fantastic to walk about on. My only concern with that was in the doghouse. I mean, there were some big mosh pits for Bleed Again, and in retrospect, and I don't want to fall on that concrete. Damn, that's going to hurt. But other than that, that was a huge improvement, and I really appreciated that. Obviously, the standard problem with the prices going up and up and up. Yes, the food was a horrific price, as were the drinks. I mean, there was a lot of people complaining partway through the weekend that vendors were putting up the prices of their cans of drink. They hadn't been told they were supposed to end at £2.95. Then they were told it must be £2.95, and therefore all of their signs were wrong. So consumers were saying, hey, it says £2.50, but you're telling me now it's £2.95. So that was a bit complicated. They need to sort that out, but that's only a minor thing. Otherwise, I thought the food layouts were great. Every area of the festival, there was good food available, and the queues weren't too horrendous, bar a couple of major ones. The toilets, I did not have problems this year with toilets. I have on many occasions had to queue for ridiculous amounts of time for loos. Yes, I used the loos in the guest area a lot more, but when I was in the main arena and didn't have time to go to the guest area, there was plenty of toilets around in good locations as well. So plenty of pluses for Download. It was a fantastic festival, absolutely. So now we're going to get into my top 10 performances from the weekend. Now, just to be clear, this is not the top 10 best performances at Download because I didn't see every band, surprisingly, but these are the top 10 bands that I saw at Download Festival 2024. First of all, before we get into it, I'm going to give an honourable mention to Bleed Again. I would be very, very biased and put them somewhere in the top 10, and that's probably not fair because they're my friends, so, you know, I'll let you be the judge of that. Let us know in the comments. Do you think Bleed Again smashed it like I did? Because I thought they were absolutely incredible. So in number 10, we've got a band called Mouth Culture. Now, I didn't go along with Mouth Culture, and although their vocalist Jack Voss is an old friend of mine from many years ago, we haven't spoken in a long time, and therefore I feel like I'm not too biased about them, unlike with Bleed Again, who I spoke to an hour ago. Mouth Culture were fantastic at Download Festival 2024. They were a surprise addition. They were meant to be playing on the stage in the RIP camping area, and because of a couple of dropouts due to the Barclays fiasco, Mouth Culture were added to the main lineup just a couple of days before the festival. But despite that, they drew a very large crowd, had an excellent time on stage. I thought the vocals cut through really clearly. I could hear what Jack was singing, and overall, pretty solid set. In number 9, we've got Billy Talent. Now, Billy Talent, I chose not to see the last time that they were playing at Download. I was seeing something else. They must have clashed with something, I'm not sure. But I am so glad that I was dragged along to go and see them this time around. They were fantastic. The energy was really upbeat. The vocals were fantastic, sounded just like they do on record, and that's really important and quite tricky to do, especially in a festival setting. And I have a new favourite song. Rusted from the Rain. What a tune. I don't really listen to Billy Talent. The only song that I knew before going into that tent was Try Honesty. That song was awesome too. But Rusted from the Rain was awesome, and now I've been listening to it every day since. My only criticism of Billy Talent was that as a third stage headliner, I would like to see a little bit more on stage, whether it would be with some pyrotechnics or some confetti or just some extra bits. I saw Enter Shikari headline the third stage. It was one of the most ridiculous sets I've ever seen at Download. Genuinely one of my 2 or 3 favourite sets I've ever seen, and I'm not even really a Shikari fan, but it was absolutely outstanding. Confetti all over the place, loads of stage stuff going on. It was just outstanding. Saxon, I saw them headline the third stage in 2016, I think, and they had their famous golden eagle on stage with all the lights on it. That looked absolutely awesome. So it would have been nice if they did a little bit more with the position that they were given, but otherwise, awesome set. In number 8, we've got Of Mice and Men. Now, they're a band I've always wanted to see. I never saw them with Austin Carlisle, but I have to say, Aaron Pauley makes a fantastic frontman. He's traditionally been on the strings rather than as a frontman, but he's had a few years of experience now of being at the helm of the band, and I have to say, he is an excellent frontman. The long hair helps. He was able to whip that about. That was great. The vocals were on point. Again, another band that the vocals really cut through and were incredibly accurate to the record. And they know what songs to play. Really important that they don't shy away from Austin Carlisle era songs. I mean, Aaron was in the band as well anyway, so it's not like they're not his songs. But they still played a lot of the old classics, and I think that's really important to the fans and shows that the guys are humble and not just keen on playing the new era of Mice and Men. In number 7, we've got Bleed From Within. A absolutely blistering 20-minute set. Now, these guys were due to have a particularly long set. We found out the day before in the press tent that was because of comedians Rob and Romesh recording their Rob and Romesh versus Download episode for their TV series, which is, I mean, I can't wait to see that. That's going to be amazing. So that explains the longer set. However, due to what is rumoured to have been BBC cameras interfering with whatever stuff on stage, their set had loads of technical difficulties and they only played 20 minutes. Those 20 minutes were absolutely mental. There was a lot of fire. The Rob and Romesh section was great. And what's really crucial here for a metalcore band like Bleed From Within is that a lot of the time, the heavier bands tend to work better in the tents. It's darker, the lights look better, it's more fitting for the music. And there's very few heavy metalcore bands. Bury Tomorrow spring to mind. Very few bands can go out on the open air stages and absolutely own it in, you know, on a lovely sunny day. You know, it doesn't necessarily suit the music and you have to do things a little differently. Bleed From Within stepped it up and put on a fantastic performance. I'd never seen them before either, and I'm really glad I did get to see them. I'd love to book them for Hammer Down. They're certainly on the cards. In number 6, The Secret Set Parkway Drive. This was rammed. Unlike Busted's round set that I couldn't even get anywhere near, I did manage to squeeze myself into the 10th for Parkway Drive nice and early, and wow, I mean, the band have been around a while. It's no surprise they were able to cram so many bangers into 30 minutes, but it really was banger after banger. There was just no filler in this set. Vice Grip sounded fantastic, the guitars were awesome, Bottom Feeder sounded fantastic, and you could tell Winston McCall was just absolutely loving life up there. He kept, between every song, laughing a bit and going, oh my god, this is insane, this is crazy, holy hell, this is mad. And that was really, really awesome. He clearly appreciated the absolutely insane crowd they had in that rammed tent at very, very short notice. I have to say, I love the little video they put up on the morning of that show as well, saying, what festival are we playing today? It's not downloading. I just thought that was so funny. That was great. Great comedy. Good lads, and an awesome show. In number 5, another band I'm desperate to book for Hammerdown Festival 2025, Vukovi. Again, a band like Bleed From Within that I hadn't seen before, that I've been really, really excited to see. Over the last year or so, Vukovi have become one of my absolute favourite bands. I think they're absolutely fantastic. The intro was a great build-up. A lot of bands use sirens at the start of their intros. They did it really effectively. Lots of red lights. It looked great. The vocals cut through really clearly. The crowd was bopping and jumping, having a great time. Janine Shillstone did a bit of crowd surfing, and we all love a bit of crowd surfing, of course. And the crowd went mental for La Di Da, which is an absolute banger of a song. They were fantastic. I got a chance to meet Janine in the press tent afterwards, and she was lovely. I did mention Hammerdown, and hopefully we'll get them there next year. So, into number 4. We're getting close to the top. We've gone with Sum 41. Now, Sum 41 are a band that I saw headline the second stage in 2017, and they were great, really good fun, excellent, great vibes, whatever. Like, it was a great set. However, this time around, Derek Whibley was on fine form. He was running about. The energy was no end between every song. From the moment the song finished to the moment the song started, he was talking, communicating. There was no pauses for breath, no going back for a drink to take a minute or whatever. He was just on the ball, running about. It was their last ever UK festival, so you'd expect that in some ways, but it was great to see such energy. It was awesome. The set was filled with bangers. We got to hear some of the greatest tunes they've ever written. Obviously, songs like In Too Deep were particular highlights. They did a slightly weird We Will Rock You cover, which I thought was a bit naff, but other than that, the set was absolutely excellent and quite emotional. That's the last time we're going to get to see them, at least on the festival circuit. Derek did say on stage that they're going to be announcing what sounds to be a final UK tour, and that would make sense that they do that. But certainly on a festival setting, that's the last time we're going to get to see Sum 41, and I'm very, very glad that I was there to be a part of it. Number 3, definite headliners the next time they come, Limp Bizkit. Andy Coppins even said so himself since the set. Limp Bizkit absolutely ruled. In fact, I personally think, from looking around and the footage that I got, that Limp Bizkit had the biggest crowd of the entire weekend. Now, that whole last chunk of Sunday, from Bowling for Soup, Sum 41, Limp Bizkit and Avenged Sevenfold, was far bigger than the other 2 days' headliners. It was an enormous crowd. It was fantastic. But Limp Bizkit had the biggest of the lot. They absolutely crushed it. The cool, calm, collected nature of Fred Durst. He's just the coolest man. No effort, no energy, effortlessly cool. We've talked a lot on this list about bands that just have insane energy. They're jumping around, they're crowd surfing, whatever. Fred Durst does not need to do that. He comes out on stage and he just goes, hello, and it was just fantastic. It was just so cool. I loved that between every song they just like weave random tunes in. I mean, that, like, a little shout out to Noel and Liam from Oasis, reform that band, we're all watching kind of thing. That was quite cool. And I love the humour and honesty that Limp Bizkit have. I've watched interviews with Limp Bizkit before. They're one of few bands that openly will say, we're only here to play the old songs, the bangers that everybody loves, that you guys are here to see. People don't care about their new stuff. This is Fred's words, not mine, by the way. People don't care about the new stuff. They want to come and see the classics, and I have the best job in the world to be able to get up here and sing these tunes to people every single night. Do you ever get bored of them, Fred? No, I don't. I want to play them every single night because X amount of thousand people have turned up to see it. And I love that. And they made some funny jokes and gestures towards that in their set. They even said before the end, hey, we've run out of songs, do you want us to cover something? And it was great, right? And they've obviously got loads of other songs and some other bangers as well. But they're like, yeah, we've done all the good ones now. And I just thought it was great. And they played break stuff twice. Now, they've been doing that a lot on tour, so we kind of expected that. But, I mean, who does that? Like, Coolest moment was them getting a local fella to me up on stage. I didn't know him, but we've had a chat on Facebook since. A guy from Hastings up on stage singing along to whatever tune it was, having the time of his life, and Fred and him just sort of going off together. It was wicked. Top 2, this is where it gets a little bit tight. These 2 bands were the 2 standouts for the entire weekend, for me anyway. And in number 2, While She Sleeps, a band I've wanted to see for quite a long time. The energy, the set they had on stage, the fire was insane. They did a lot extra and put a lot of budget into their show to make it the very best they possibly could. I've said for a while that in terms of choral gang vocals in metalcore, Sleeps do it better, and live it really cuts through. All 3 of the guys on the mics cut through fantastically, and it sounded just like on the record. It was excellent. Loz Taylor did a little bit of crowd surfing. As I said, we love a bit of crowd surfing, and an absolutely immaculate playthrough of To the Flowers, which so far is my song of 2024. It is one of the most beautiful tunes I've ever heard in my life, and also has the best music video I have ever seen. It's outstanding. It will make anybody cry. It's an absolute piece of artistic genius, and to see that song live and played so well on guitar, by the way, because it's a very, very guitar-led song, absolutely awesome. But my number 1 show of the weekend was The Used. Now, The Used, I've got a tattoo there, you know, the little heart on there. A band I've loved for 12 or 13 years now. They're an incredible band, and I've always wanted to see them, but that doesn't mean that I'm biased to putting them number 1 because they just happen to be one of my favourite bands. There's plenty of my favourite bands that I've seen at Download that have been really poor, and that's put me off them. So actually, the pendulum swings both ways greater than bands that I don't like as much, who I'm just a passive watcher for. So it's really, really important that my favourite bands perform at their absolute best, and The Used definitely did. They kicked off with Pretty Handsome Awkward. They also played a lot of songs like Take It Away, Bird and the Worm, all the big tunes. Again, much like we were talking about Of Mice and Men, they're playing their classics, they're playing the tunes that people want to hear. Now, this band appeared to have the most fun on stage of pretty much anybody. Bert McCracken is an excellent frontman, and he has this bizarre thing that he wants people after the songs to boo him instead of cheer. So after the songs, everybody's booing and he's going, boo, fuck you. And it's great. Like the humour and the banter on stage was great. My only criticism, again, as a third stage headliner, I would have liked to have seen like a little bit of something going on. It was very much just a band performance, but I don't care because they were absolutely awesome. The energy was great, and they don't necessarily need that extra stuff. If it's an artistic choice to not have much, then no problem at all. So that's my top 10 bands that played Download Festival this year. Absolutely awesome time. I really, really loved it. The guest areas were great. It was really, really good to see so many bands that I've wanted to see for years and never had the chance. And Bleed Again absolutely crushed it. And if you haven't listened to their new song Parasite, you need to go and check that out. It's an incredible tune. Download 2024. Thank you very, very much.